6 weeks away from the NFL season starting, and there's about 8 divisions in football. I decided, hey, now's about the right time to start off our division preview. So we'll do one a night most of these nights, of course, since if you can do the math, which I'm not assuming you can. It took me like a calculator and an abacus to figure this one out. We'll have to do two of these nights, so we will do that. So stay tuned for that. But so tonight we're going to kick it all off with our NFC West preview. And I don't know, we'll come up with a sound effect for that for the rest of them, but we didn't really come up with anything for tonight. Sorry. Boo. Okay, that's our sound effect. Boo, Brian. But yeah, so let's kick it off and start with the Seattle Seahawks. Now, they are your Super Bowl champions. They came off of a demolishing win where they just absolutely crushed the Denver Broncos, and very, very surprising the way they beat them. But they pretty much have retained their entire team. All their free agents, they pretty much signed, except for one big one, and that was Golden Tate. He flew the coop and ended up in Detroit. So that's going to be interesting. Now, I'm pretty much going to break down, some interesting storylines going on with them and their biggest loss and their biggest gain of the season. So let's start it off with their biggest choice. Huh? Yeah, he was a free agent. Yeah, I mean the city not so much, but the money, yes, yes.
All right.
He was like
a really good deal.
Yeah, I don't mind making $7 million a year for the next couple of years. Even if I have to live in Detroit, just because they're bankrupt doesn't mean I have to be.
Yeah, I mean, just their team is not that good.
They've been better in the past couple of years. They're one of the best offensive teams in the league. It's just the defense, even with all the talent they have on the defense, just never can seem to get it together. But we're not talking Detroit. We are talking Seattle. So, yeah, I'll go over there. So the big storylines, number one, yeah, they're looking like they're in line to repeat. They'll be the first repeat championship, Super Bowl champion since Tom Brady's Patriots in 2003 and 2004, I believe. Now, I honestly don't really think they'll repeat. I didn't think they'd win last year, though, so what do I know?
Wow, it's been 10 years, hasn't it, since that? Huh.
Yeah.
Time flies.
It's been a while since we've had repeat champions, so, yeah, they're pretty much still on the top of their game.
Still, like, it happening in a 10-year... I guess it happens, like, at least once a decade we have that happen, it seems like, so... That's still kind of frequently, considering how many teams there are and how many teams haven't even made it to the Super Bowl at all.
Well, yeah, but parity the free agency has created more parity, so I think we're seeing it less and less and less than we used to. Like if you look back at the 60s, the Packers won it a couple times in a row. You look back at the 70s, the Steelers won it a couple times in a row. The 80s, you had the 49ers won it a couple times in a row. You had the Cowboys win it a couple times in a row. So you are right, there's a trend there. But I don't see it happening quite as much as it used to, but I'd have to prove that, and I can't prove that without this decade being over. So,
all right, well, let's find out.
But yeah, so
look into the future. If you could see the future, let us know in comments down below.
Comments down below for all your future picks for the NFL and lottery numbers. We'd like those too. Yeah, because we always like lottery numbers. But yeah, so their biggest loss this year was Golden Tate. He was the biggest loss because right now Sidney Rice just retired, and that's a pretty big loss too. But they have no receiving core, and Russell Wilson, whereas he is good, he is a solid quarterback, I think he needs help in the wide receiver game, and he just doesn't have that. So we're going to see that kind of take a hit. Now you might be saying, well, how are they still going to repeat? Because they have a running back who is known as the Beast. And yeah, that's all I got to say. He's known as the Beast, and that's Marshawn Lynch. Now, as of today, Marshawn Lynch actually is saying that he might be holding out of training camp because he wants a bigger deal. And, yeah, so that might really hurt them. So anybody who's preying on the Seahawks' downfall, now's your time.
What do you think, Brian, though, about the running back game? Has it seemed to me like it's become, for many teams, less and less important in the game overall since they've opened up the receiver so much more, but... You know, it used to be such an important role. It used to be, like, incredibly crucial. Now it's still important, but it just seems like maybe it's been on the decline lately. Anyway,
you are right. It has been on the decline since the passing game has been opened up, and you have all these quarterbacks throwing these amazing stats every year, and wide receivers going crazy. But I do find it very integral to the game still because I mean, you're not going to have a great passing game, usually unless you have a little bit of a running game, because defenses are smart enough, they're athletic enough, they can figure out a way to shut down what you do best, unless you're versatile, unless you have multiple things. Now, that being said, running backs were seen at an all-time low. They're getting the least amount of money, comparatively speaking, than they ever have. It seems like after you hit 27, they're willing to just throw you away and look for the next big thing. So running back as a position, I think it's still very, very important, but it is not the premium position it once was. So,
yeah, and I can think of several teams where we've seen amazing running backs that have been absolutely crucial still, even if many of them are still putting up incredible numbers. Even the ones that aren't putting up incredible numbers, opening up the rest of the game, or especially the ones that are putting
Adrian Peterson's still on top. That guy is a beast. He's one of the best running backs ever, in my opinion, so far. But yeah, I mean, is he worth the money that Calvin Johnson gets? I don't know. I mean, yes, he has the great production. He is capable of getting that 2,000 yards, but does that matter? Can he take over a game? Not quite as much as they used to be able to.
It also seems to me to open up the read option that we've been seeing a little bit more popularity in the pros with. Because even though the point there is that the quarterback can run, if there's also the threat of a good running back running the other way or whatever, now you have 3, 4, however many more things to take care of, and it really helps open that up, just explode. Because it's one thing that there's a pass or a run from the quarterback threat, and maybe the running back, but if you have a really good running back, that like so much is opened up. It's hard to deal with when a team can go to any of 3 really good options at any time. So
yeah, I mean, options are always good. I mean, you can never have too many options, I don't think, unless those options, when they're not used, become whiny babies, wide receivers. But yeah, so you never know. I mean, running back, like I said, it's still an important position, but the actual running backs themselves are being less and less focused on. So what can you do? But let's move it on to the 49ers. Now, the Seahawks and the 49ers seems like every year, well, at least the past 3 years, they've been battling it out. Those are 2 of the better teams in the NFL right now, and that's for good reason, because this is the way they built their teams. We have a great defense, and we have quarterbacks that can manage the game well. Colin Kaepernick is a little more flashy than Russell Wilson, but we have great quarterbacks, and we have, pretty good great quarterbacks and good quarterbacks. I meant great defenses and good quarterbacks. So that's kind of their formula there. And these 2 teams are actually kind of mirror images of each other. Now, it seems like San Francisco has a little bit more flashiness to their defense. Seattle still gets it done, so it really doesn't matter. But yeah, so their biggest loss this year was actually on the defensive side, which was Dante Whitner, a.k.a. Dante Hittner, and they lost him in free agency this year. Now, he was a really, really solid safety. Not the best coverage safety, but definitely if somebody was running over the middle, they thought twice because they knew Dante Whitner was out there, and he was going to lay down a hit. So that's going to be a pretty bad loss for them. Now, I believe they drafted somebody to kind of take his place, but, I mean, whenever you draft somebody, it's never that great. Well, I'm sorry, they didn't draft him. Their biggest gain, which I have written down right here, they did draft somebody, but was Antoine Bethea. Now, he's coming over from the Colts. He is a very solid safety, but he's not a great safety like Dante Whitner was. So,
yeah, I was going to say, like, even with drafting someone, I mean, always veteran players are more valuable, but it seems, especially on defense, I can't think of very many like really major defensive players that were great right out of the gate as rookies. Like, good, sure, but it seems like
Sean Taylor.
Right out the gate, you'd say?
Sean Taylor.
I'm saying good, but all right, fine. Okay. Not very many though. So you got one.
He's dead. You can't refute it. Sean Taylor, you just have to honor his memory at all times. That's what I say.
All right, that's fine. So we got Sean Taylor.
I mean, I can go through more.
Look, just accept my point. All right.
Okay, you are correct.
Down in the books.
You are correct.
Everything I say is correct.
Brian Cushing.
Nope.
Do I have to go through more? Jarius Byrd, he was a beast when he was a rookie. All right, I'm sorry. Your point is right. You are exactly correct.
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
All those defensive players that seemed like they were good as rookies, they just got lucky.
That was it. It was just luck. That was simple, dumb luck. That is all they have. They have no skill or talent. That is from Brendan, not from me. So all you big football players that want to get somebody, hit us up at Words for My Face on Twitter, at wordsformyface@gmail.com, and I'll let you know how to beat up Brendan.
The second year of skill. though.
Second, gotcha. Second, okay, so there you go. You covered yourself. The second year was skill. First year, dumb luck. Second year, skill. Dumb luck first year. But yeah, so that's the 49ers. They lost, but they brought somebody back. So they're going to be about the same team. Both those teams, I mean, you had the Seahawks go 13-3. You had the 49ers go 12-4. They're both going to be the same teams they were last year. I mean, let's say somebody fumbles the ball and it bounces one extra direction towards the 49ers or the Seahawks, I mean, that's going to be the difference, is some dumb luck plays over the year. So, but then we have creeping up on them is the Arizona Cardinals. Now, these guys were 10-6 last year, and that is, you say, that's a great record. That's a playoff team. Nope, they didn't even make the playoffs. So that is very rare when a 10-6 team does not make the playoffs. Now, do I think they can really compete in this division with Seattle and San Francisco? No. But could they surprise me? Sure. Why not? I mean, if you look at this division, 5 years ago, I believe, was when the Rams made it into the playoffs with a 7-9 record, and that was 5 years ago. Then 4 years ago, the Arizona Cardinals made it all the way to the Super Bowl with an 8-8 record winning the division. So anything can happen. This is the NFL. Parity is everywhere, so you never know. But I just don't really think they have it. Now, their biggest
things about the NFL too is just no matter what you're looking at, and things can always go any way because they're great with balancing the teams. They're great with everyone being so top notch, and they're great with turning things around. I mean, especially when you have time to strategize. I think that's one of the beauties of having so few games. They're all so incredibly important. And you can change things around.
Strategy plays more. It's more of a game of chess than other sports would be more, which would be more checkers. I mean, you really have to think about. You have to anticipate, and really just plan for the next person's move. And that happens all throughout the week. You're right. I mean, they watch so much film on their opponents. They sometimes go back, like especially with rookies, like when RG3 was a rookie quarterback, you have no film on the guy. They go back to his college and high school days to get film on him. So, I mean, they do their homework. That is one thing you got to say about the NFL, is they do their homework. So, but the Cardinals, their biggest loss was a pretty big loss. Probably the best cover linebacker, not a phrase you hear very often, but the best cover linebacker out there, Carlos Dansby, left them. So that was a really big loss. But they did do some good gains. They added a few pieces to their offensive line, which really struggled last year. And they have Carson Palmer as their quarterback. So last year he did well. I mean, they had 10-6. But he was unable to stay upright as much as they'd like him to. And he is towards the back end of his career, and he has had some pretty severe injuries over his career, so you really want to keep that guy protected. So they did a good thing by beefing up their offensive line. So, and then that will bring us to the bottom of the division, which they're still not so bad. The Rams, I believe they were 7-9 last year, if I'm correct. I'm not 100% sure on that one. I think I just made that one up. But yeah, so the Rams,
they had good. Some good advantages coming into the draft with that. What did they end up with? First, second round?
Yeah, they had the second pick of the first round.
Yeah. So
from the Redskins, no less. But yeah, so they added a lot of draft pieces. They're really looking for Sam Bradford to really mature into that role that they drafted him to be, that leader of a quarterback who could put up the spectacular numbers, be that field general that they needed. He's never quite shown all that much. I mean, they did, like I said, they made the playoffs either his rookie or his sophomore year, with a 7-9 record. I mean, is that really making the playoffs? That's really just like falling and ending up in the playoffs. So, yeah, I mean, can they compete in this division? I really don't think so. Sorry, St. Louis fans. It's just you're in the toughest division in football right now. So even if you go 8-8, that's a spectacular record. It's just, yeah, murderous row of division opponents with the Seahawks, 49ers, and the Cardinals to play. So hope those draft picks we gave you helped out, at least in the future, but you never know. We'll see how.
Yeah, honestly, it's probably more likely to help out a year or two down the line, which it seems like they're willing to build for, and they've been getting ready for. So See?
Yeah, I mean, you don't compile that many draft picks without building for the future. So, and Jeff Fisher's taking the reins there. Now, Jeff Fisher, I'm not going to come out and say he's like, oh, greatest coach of all time, but he's shown that he knows how to put a winning team on the field. He did that for like 17 years with the Titans. So they have a good guy leading them, but you never know. I mean, this is the NFL, like we keep saying, parodies everywhere. We could say, yeah, this team's going to be 3-13, and then they end up 13-3. So nobody ever knows. Like the Redskins, they were 3-13 last year. They're going to be 13-3 this year.
Of course. Because,
yes.
you know, that record helped them out so much, too, because of the great draft picks they got that were already traded away to the Rams.
Yes. But, yeah, so in synopsis, I'm going to give the division actually to San Francisco 49ers. I think that they're just a little bit more complete of an all-around team than Seattle is, even though Seattle won the Super Bowl last year. I do think that the departure of Sidney Rice and Golden Tate is going to hurt them. They are going to take a hit unless they're able to go out there and find some offensive weapon to really help the wide receiving core. They're in trouble there. But they are still good enough of a team. Marshawn Lynch, like I said, he is kind of holding out, but he'll be back. I mean, they'll give him his money. He'll be back. So, but I do see the 49ers being the ones that walk away with this division. Hardest division in football, in my opinion.
Well, so far anyway. We're still several weeks away from the real season. You never know.
Yeah, I mean, anything can happen. I mean, listen, Colin Kaepernick could go out into training camp tomorrow, break his leg, and be out for the whole year. Anything can happen.
And that kind of thing does, in fact, happen often enough.
I'm going to give you a little bit of a fantasy football tip. This is one that I live by. Never draft your fantasy football teams before 2 weeks before the season. And I say that because players are always getting hurt in the beginning of training camp, and some of these injuries will last a good long time. Be careful. If you draft somebody in your fantasy football league who's then out for the rest of the season and he hasn't even played a game, you are screwed. I always wait until minimum 2 weeks before the season starts because they kind of start lowering the intensity of the training camp after that because they've already played all their preseason games. They know their rosters. They just need to work on their game plan for the first game. So be careful if you want to draft too early. Yeah, it's fun, but you could get screwed real hard. So at least in your money leagues, don't do that. You can do if it's just a random league that you join for fun, go for it. But in your money leagues, don't do it. And I think I just thought about this. We are going to do this though. I'm going to do a live draft special when I do my draft with my league. I'm going to do it.
And you throw this on me now, because now I am, of course, going to have to organize this live stream, which means setting up the same things we set up every night. And I don't know, whatever.
I bet you I could get it with you. You wouldn't even have to be there if you don't want to. I bet you I could do this. Yeah, I'm doing it. That's that. I'm doing it. I've decided. But let us know what you think about the NFC West, or hey, tell me I'm a dummy for thinking what I think, or tell me I'm a genius. Which, yeah, genius. That's what you want to say. I mean, I know. Yeah, I got whomped. But yeah, let us know. Comments down below. Of course, at Words for My Face on Twitter, wordsformyface@gmail.com, Google+, and Facebook. There's plenty of places to get a hold of us to tell me how dumb I am. Or how smart I am. I mean, one of the two. I mean, it's going to be how dumb I am. I know how the internet works. But you can tell me I'm smart. Hey, I wouldn't mind. Hey.
All right.
Hey. Okay, fine.